What's up, guys? In this video, I'm going to cover what I think is one of the most important skills that you can have as a new wholesaler, which is qualifying and disqualifying leads, right? It's very important to be able to comp properties. It's very important to have quality communication skills. But one of the biggest things that I see that sets people back is the fact that they spend too much time with leads that there's no way that they're going to sell at a price that we need them to sell at to be able to make a profit, right? So if you look at the real estate market as a whole, statistically and generally speaking, only 4 to 6% of the real estate market is what we call in distress, right? Now that's either the house is in distress, it needs a ton of work, needs to be fixed up, or the property or the owner themselves is in distress, right? Maybe job loss, foreclosure, death, divorce. There's a bunch of different reasons why somebody might be in distress and need to sell and liquidate a property quickly rather than going through the process that the majority of the housing market goes through when they decide to sell, which is putting some money into the property, making it, in its best showable condition, and then hiring a real estate agent to find the highest, and best offer for that property. That's what most of the real estate market does, and they should, because they don't have a reason to sell quickly, right? The only people that we can add value to are people that it's more important to them that they close quickly and certainly than getting the highest price that they can possibly get, right? So with that, when you're out marketing, especially if you're cold calling and really any kind of marketing that you're doing, you're going to be talking with a lot of sellers, a lot of homeowners that they want to sell their house, right? But they don't have a motivation or something in their life that's going to cause them to have to sell at a price that allows you to make profit, right? There's a lot of sellers out there that, and why would they know this, right? It's not their business. But they'll reach out to investors or they'll talk to investors about an offer on their property because they think, well, if we sell to an investor that doesn't come with an agent, then we might be able to save on commissions and, fees and stuff like that. So they'll want to get offers from you thinking that you can pay closer to retail value and maybe they just don't have to deal with an agent. But a lot of people, they don't understand how much of a discount an investor actually needs to be able to turn a profit, especially on a fix and flip. So you might have sellers that, let's say the house is worth $300,000 and it's completely fixed up condition, and they say they don't have a motivation and they say, hey, I'll sell it to you for $250,000, right? Thinking that they're giving you a good discount on the property. But as a wholesaler or an investor, a fix and flipper, $250,000 is not a good enough deal for us to buy that property that's worth $300,000, right? We need that deal at like $150,000 to $175,000. And if that seller doesn't have any real motivation or any reason to sell at that price, then why would they take such a big price cut? They'd be like, no, I'm just going to hire an agent. I'll wait a little bit longer. Like, it'd be nice to sell at that. It'd be nice to sell to an investor for cash and not have to deal with this whole process. But I'm not going to take a $120,000 haircut on this property just to sell it, right? That's not a lead for us. That is not a motivated seller. That's not somebody that we as investors and as wholesalers can add value to, because their most important thing is selling the property for the highest and best, which again, if you don't have any need to sell quickly and for cash, like, why would you? Why would you take a lower price when you could just invest a little bit of time and invest a little bit of money and then get a higher price, right? So we're looking for the people that that option is not, that's not even an option for them. They don't want to deal with an agent. They don't have or don't want to invest the time or money into the property to get it up to speed to be able to sell on the market. So they're willing to trade the potential equity in their property for the speed and convenience of a cash offer. So those are the kind of people that we're looking for. And we have to make sure that we're disqualifying bad leads so that we can spend our time with the good leads, the people that we can actually help. And so I made this, I'm going to show you guys a resource that I gave to actually my lead manager on my team, who her job is she's a virtual assistant from the Dominican Republic. Her job is she sees all of the incoming leads that either come in from another source that come in from our cold calling efforts or another source. She'll check out that lead, get an idea for she'll look at the notes, she'll maybe listen to the call conversation so that she can have an idea of what that situation is. And then she'll either according to the quality of the lead, maybe she'll throw it in the trash if it's a bad lead. If it's a cold or a warm lead, then she'll follow up with it. Or if it's a hot lead, then she'll pass it to my acquisition manager. But this is a resource that I gave to her to kind of empower her to be able to disqualify and qualify those leads, so that, like I said, if we have bad leads, we're getting them out of our system so that we're not spending time on them, right? We're referring them an agent and wishing them the best, right? Because we can't really offer them much as far as a cash offer. So this is a resource that she uses, and let's open this up so you guys can take a look at it. So this is the qualifying and disqualifying leads, like SOP, if you want to call it, right? And I'll just go through this up at the top. This may be the most important section for you to study and master as a junior acquisitions manager / lead manager, right? Leads, non-leads that don't belong in our system need to be strategically eliminated and determined dead, so we do not spend time on a lead that we provide no value to. Remember, we are not convincing anyone to sell to us, but rather identifying people who we can provide value to and giving them the opportunity to work with us. To be confident in our follow-ups, we must first understand who we are and the value we provide. Reasons why people would work with us are as follows. We are a proven local company with a great track record, not just another spam caller. We put our sellers first, and we let them consider all of the options available to them. Our value to sellers is speed and convenience, right? We are the easy button, and I love using this term, the easy button, because I feel like most homeowners can understand what we mean when, hey, if you want to sell your house for the highest and best, go hire an agent. We're not your buyer, right? But if you want to hit the easy button and be done with the house and have it just be the smoothest transaction in your life and not have to worry about it, that's where we provide value, right? But with that, we're going to have to buy the property at a lower price so that we can make it make sense as an investment. Right? So going back into this, if a seller is not in a rush to sell and needs top dollar, this is what listing agents are for, and we can connect them with an agent if they don't have one. A lot of the times, asking if they need an agent will reveal that the seller does not want to work with an agent and typically has other motivation that was not talked about previously. Right? So here's a couple of great questions to ask leads to help qualify and disqualify them as a potential seller that we can work with. And the questions are categorized by pillar, right? So real quick before we get into this, if you're not familiar with the 4 pillars of qualification of a lead, it comes down to 4 different points. The first one is the condition of the property, the motivation to sell the property. Why does the seller want to sell, right? Their timeline to sell the property. How quickly do they want to sell? And finally, their asking price. Those are the 4 pillars of qualification. And if you are able to get with those pieces of information, we can really determine how quality a lead it is, right? Because if you have an ugly house, you have a defined motivation, such as a pre-foreclosure or a probate or a job loss or a divorce or something like that, along with a quick timeline, then, that's a really good lead, especially if their asking price is a good price, right? But even if it's not, even if let's say they're asking for a really high, or not a really high, but they're asking for retail, right? But they have an ugly house and they have a very defined motivation. Well, they're going to have to get serious, or they're going to have to get realistic on price at some point, right? Especially if they have to sell in the next 60 days to avoid foreclosure. So even if they might want $300,000 now, I know that they're going to have to make a decision to sell at some point, and they're going to have to get realistic at some point and accept that 150 to 175 offer, right? But having those 4 pillars of qualification can allow you to kind of analyze a lead and see how likely they are to work with an investor versus are they somebody that's going to hire a real estate agent, right? Or not sell the property at all. Okay, so going back into the document here, a couple of questions that you can ask. The first one, can you catch me up to speed on the recent updates that you've done to the house? Or another one, what updates have you done to the property in the last 5 to 10 years, right? So if you notice, there's a lot of, there might be a couple of yes or no questions in here, but the majority of them you're going to notice are going to be open-ended questions. And the reason for that is because if you ask yes or no questions, a lot of the time you're going to get yes or no answers. And we don't want yes or no answers because a lot of the time that doesn't give us the information that we need, right? And it's very subjective, right? If you ask a seller, hey, have you updated the property at least recently? And they say yes. Okay, well, what does that mean, right? And how recently is, right? So what we want to ask is open-ended questions that kind of pulls out more information, right? So catch me up to speed on the recent updates you've done to the house, or what updates have you done to the property in the last 5 to 10 years. That is for your condition. Another question, or I'm sorry, the next one would be motivation. And you want to, in motivation, we want to find out why are they wanting to sell, and we want to know, are they wanting to sell just because they think the market is up and they want to get the highest price, or they're just curious of what people would pay, or do they actually, like, is there actually something that's going on in their life that is causing them to have to sell the property and need to sell quickly, right? So we want to get an idea of that. So a couple of questions you can ask. If we're able to pay your asking price, how soon would you be ready to close and receive your funds? And you're probably wondering, that sounds like a timeline question, Nick. Why do you have that under motivation? And the reason why is because, honestly, when we're actually going through our script and like talking to sellers, a lot of the time we talk about timeline before motivation. And the reason for that is because a lot of the time in asking the timeline, you'll actually get the motivation from the seller, right? Because they'll say, well, I need to sell in the next 2 months, or I'm going to, lose the property to the bank, or I need to close by the end of this month because my job just got transferred out to California, or right, something like that. So when you ask about the timeline, a lot of the time you can get their motivation as well as their timeline. So that's a good question to ask. Hey, if we're able to, pay your asking price, or we can agree on a number, how soon would you be ready to close? Like, what's, ideally, when are you looking to get this done? And then another one that's a little bit more direct, or towards the motivation, is asking how far along the selling process are they, and is there any particular reason that you've been considering selling, right? So we want to get an idea. If we're asking how far along the process are they just saying that they're interested in selling because we called them and asked them if they are interested? Have they been hiring, or have they been interviewing agents? Have they been getting bids from contractors to fix up their house? Have they been talking to other investors, right? Where are they in the process of selling? And then is there any particular reason why you're looking to sell, right? You're going to be able to pull information about how serious they are about selling and why they're selling. Right. So then we go into the timeline. Next question on timeline. I just realized I'm not even sharing this with you guys. So here is those couple of questions. So condition, motivation. Now we go into timeline here. Most people we are buying from would like to close in under 30 days. Would this work for you if we were able to come to terms on price? That is kind of a yes or no question, but like you're asking, hey, so are you looking to sell this month, or are you a couple months down the road, or what are you kind of looking at, right? And then the next question, what would need to happen in order for you to be ready to sell within the next 30 days, right? You might get, well, I need to go get all the storage stuff out. I need to talk with my husband, my brother, whatever it is. We have to do a probate. My grandma just died and we have to put the property into my name, XYZ, stuff like that. You're going to get an idea of how quickly they're looking to sell. And I think personally that the timeline is one of the most important things, right? If you have a timeline coupled with a ugly house, that's a really, really good lead, because somebody that needs to sell quickly is not going to be able to hire an agent and put that on the market and sell it for highest and best, right? It's going to come with a process. Most agents aren't even going to want to deal with a listing like that, especially if it needs a bunch of work. So their best option is selling quickly to a cash buyer. So short timeline and an ugly house, that's a great, great lead, but I love timeline. That's, in my opinion, the most important pillar, assuming that you have a house that needs work, right? So a couple ways that you can ask that question. Most people we are buying from would like to close in under 30 days. Would this work for you if we were able to come to terms on a price, or what would need to happen in order for you to be ready to sell within the next 30 days? And then finally, with price, everybody who's ever worked with has a no-brainer price they'd like for the house. What have you come up with for your price, right? So this is assuming that they've done research, they've looked into the neighborhood a little bit, and they've decided what they want to get for the property. And if they haven't, then you're going to be able to pull that out, right? They're going to say, well, I haven't even looked. I need to look at what houses are selling for. I don't know what's going on with the market, blah, blah, blah. It kind of gives you a little bit of information about where their price expectations are. Or maybe they give you an asking price, and maybe it's a great price, or maybe it's too high, but regardless, it gives you some kind of idea of their expectations as far as the value of the home. Second way to ask that, well, if they don't give you a price, this is actually a great question, right? And again, it kind of plays off the last one. What are other homes in similar condition to yours selling for in the neighborhood? You're going to get an idea of, is this person actively doing research to see what their house is worth? Are they taking steps to see what they could potentially get for the property? Where are their expectations on price, right? So those are just a couple of different ways to pull that out. And that's really it. Like I said, if you ask the right questions, you're going to get a lot of really good information. And then it's up to you to just decide, is this somebody that we are likely to do business with? Or is this somebody that is more likely to hire a real estate agent because it's most important to them that they get the highest price possible, right? So I hope this video helped. I hope it helps you understand a little bit more about how to qualify and disqualify leads. Because like I said, that's one of the most important skills that you can have, so that you're making sure that you're spending time with quality leads that you have a chance of actually doing a deal with, versus, you know, sellers that they want $300,000 or more for that $300,000 house, right? We want those people that they have that $300,000 house and they understand that they're not going to get anywhere close to it, but they want to sell quickly and just be done with it. So they'll take your $150,000 offer. So I hope this video helped you understand a little bit about qualifying and disqualifying leads, and equipped you with a couple of different questions that you can ask your sellers to get a better idea of what kind of leads you're dealing with. I'll catch you in the next video.